Hey, and welcome. My name's Gabby, and welcome back to our Roomvu webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about how to enhance your LinkedIn profile for real estate. All right, so on agenda for the day, we are first going to talk about the general benefits of using LinkedIn. We're then going to talk about how to create an effective LinkedIn profile. We're then going to move into talking about growing your connections through LinkedIn, extending your reach using LinkedIn groups, engaging content ideas, best posting practices, and then as always, we'll end with a Q&A. So as usual, if this is your first time, welcome. My name's Gabby, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at Roomvu. So Roomvu was recently described by Inman News as centered on lead generation, and we provide our customers with a categorized, ready-to-share library of video content that ranges on real estate topics anywhere from trends to forecasts, seller tips, neighborhood profiles, everything like that. And much like our last webinars, if you feel like we're going too fast or you're missing something or you need to step away, that's totally fine. This webinar will be recorded and then it goes up onto our YouTube channel and other social media platforms after the end, I guess, of our live Q&A segment. So stick around for that, and also put your questions in the chat throughout the live webinar, and then we will be sure to answer them in the Q&A. And if you would like to be notified of our upcoming videos and webinars, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notifications to get those notifications sent to you. And then also follow us on Instagram and all of our other social media platforms to be updated. So first we're going to talk about the benefits of LinkedIn in general. LinkedIn is the ultimate source for checking in on people and seeing what they're doing professionally. And this is your way that you can kind of develop a strong presence and keep on top of what other professionals and yourself are doing within your community, and it increases awareness of your brand. So according to HubSpot, LinkedIn was 277% more effective at generating leads than Facebook and Twitter. And this is probably due to something called the low signal to noise ratio. Which basically just means that there's less content that's posted on LinkedIn, and there's less of that kind of cluttered, noisy content. So what we mean by that is, like, there's no one posting pictures of the food that they ate last night, or, you know, the funny thing that their toddler did. It's all professional, and it's all branding and marketing. So people come onto the platform expecting that marketing and branding content. So what you're posting is expected. And then so because there's less being posted, you're also going to have a higher reach on that content and higher awareness, because it'll, again, cut through all that noise and reach a larger audience. So if we looked at LinkedIn users kind of by the numbers, 77% of them are older than 30 years old. So that means that they kind of hit within that target demographic of those that are buying and selling and interested and involved in real estate. Also, close to 50% of them make $75,000 a year or more in annual income. So that really speaks to their financial position to be able to get involved in real estate or already be involved. And kind of along those same lines, 50% of them, almost half, tend to be college graduates. Again, that also kind of helps dictate what sort of content is published on LinkedIn, because it's more, like information and data based, and it goes to support those financial means. And lastly, one of the most interesting ones is that 90% of them are the main decision makers at home. So that means that they're the ones deciding what realtor to go with if they are buying or selling. They're also probably the ones that have much more pull or sway over, the eventual home and how the money is spent and where they move to and all of those factors. So these are the people that you want to be dealing with and talking to and making connections with. So even though LinkedIn is a smaller platform than Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, it is definitely not to be overlooked. So the first thing that you have to do when you are talking about setting up a LinkedIn or improving your LinkedIn is evaluating your profile. So LinkedIn is set up in a way that there tends to be a lot of people that focus on their profiles, and that's like your major kind of point, even more so than what you're posting as well. So the first thing that you want to consider is whether or not you would like a professional page or to stick with your personal account. So the personal account lets you take advantage of LinkedIn groups, experience and skills, endorsements, recommendations, and interests, while none of those features are available to you through a professional account. The other thing to consider is that you are able to join groups, which we'll be talking about later, only through your personal account. So it's kind of best to stick with a personal account for now, especially because your goal on LinkedIn is to make connections, and so you want to be able to put a face to the name. You want a more like personal experience. But if you're thinking about advertising or you want some of the analytic advantages of having a professional account, what you can do is you can create both and then combine so that your profile is essentially one of the employees of your professional account. But if you're not at that stage yet, we recommend just sticking with the personal account for now. So the first thing that you want to consider when you are kind of building out your personal account or your personal profile is your profile picture. So this is a professional headshot that should be maintained across all of your social media platforms. So consistency is key, and it really helps with that brand recognition. Which means that the photo that you use for your LinkedIn profile photo should be the same one for Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all of those things. And that, again, really goes to building that consistency, which builds in awareness and trust. So the ideal size for that photo on LinkedIn is 400 by 400 pixels. The next section of your profile that you want to look at is the cover photo or banner photo. And that's kind of like that rectangular photo right at the top before your profile picture. And this is the place that you can really start to differentiate yourself and where it's easy to tell a good profile from a great profile. So again, one of the things to consider is keeping this consistent across multiple platforms. Be that Twitter and Facebook, but it's something that should represent you and should tell a story, and better yet, it should be a conversation starter. So while you may not want to take that route all the way and post a cup of coffee if you're really into coffee, you can do kind of like a merged thing where you say post a photo of a landmark in your city or area that you specialize in, which you can use especially if you have some sort of story or instance that goes along with that, something that really creates that conversation. Another thing that you can do is you can make it into a call to action, so including some sort of question over a cityscape or picture of a landmark or anything like that. You can also use this area to include additional contact information, really anything that you think piques somebody's interest, grabs attention, but really tells a story and gives you something to play off of and build off of that's recognizable. And the ideal size for that image is 1,584 by 396 pixels. And so right under that, you have your LinkedIn headline. And again, this is one of the easiest places to see the difference between a good and a great profile. Most of the good ones say, real estate agent, marketing coordinator, just a title. But the ones that really have that extra punch are the ones that include something about your values and your passions and how you go about doing things. So it tends to be a pretty short section. It's only 100 characters, so you do have to be a little bit concise about what you want to highlight. And the goal there is to get people to visit your profile and explore it, because that will always appear. Say if they find you in like a recommended search or anything like that. So it should grab attention and differentiate you. So again, you can talk about if you specialize in anything, such as like starter homes or luxury homes, or if you're, passionate about the area or passionate about specific projects, anything that, is kind of your skill. If you're really good at closing or any of those sort of things, this is the place that you should highlight that and kind of go beyond that real estate agent title. Which you should still include. So get creative, have fun with it, and remember that you can always change it up. You never have to be stuck with the same headline. So don't worry about confining yourself to one thing. The other thing that you can do is customizing your LinkedIn URL. So again, this is a super easy way to stand out because it shows that you took the time to make your own custom URL, and it stands out, and it also looks really professional. It also helps you in your Google search results because if you have realtor or realty in your custom URL, you'll be on the top, or I guess closer to the top of a Google search or anything like that. So to create a custom URL, you're going to click the me icon on the top of your homepage. You're then going to click View Profile, Edit Public Profile and URL, which is on the right side. You're then going to click next to the Edit icon, the Edit URL, type the last part of your new URL or change it up, take out any numbers if you can, and then you're going to click Save. So a pro tip is to match all of your URLs, which means that they should be consistent across your website and other social media handles. So for me, if my URL that I'm going to use is Gabby Realty, I want my Instagram handle to be the same. I want my website to be Gabby Realty, and then especially on business cards, that makes things look really professional. And again, it goes to building that consistency and that brand recognition, because it shows that you're on top of things, you care, and it's much easier to remember one than any of the other ones. Great. So next we have the About section, which is also the your bio. And it should be your highlights reel. It shouldn't be everything under the sun. It shouldn't be too long. The trick is to do it in 2 to 3 paragraphs, making it 200 to 300 words. And it should generally outline how you developed an interest in real estate and in your field, and how your passion has developed since then. And it should really tell a story about who you are and how you got there today. It's also the place where you can merge your education, your experience, your skills, and your story to come up with a whole picture of who you are as a person and as a real estate agent and as a professional. But again, that's a lot to do in a little space. But the longer that you make it, the less interested people are going to be to read it. So make sure that you make that trade-off and include things that are truly important to you, and ensure that your reader wants to read it and engage with it. So another category is education and certifications. Here is the place to list any awards or certifications that you have received in real estate, and also, beyond that. But only list them if you believe that they are important and that you believe people will care about. As well, if you're proud of them, you should definitely highlight those things. This obviously helps build trust with potential clients, and helps kind of build that social proof and that credibility that you're looking for. You should also make a point to list your education if you have any sort of post-secondary education. This is because a connection to a university is, a great, common ground or common interest, and it's one of the strongest networking tools, which is why alumni networks are so powerful. And that similar kind of connection and common interest applies to certifications as well, which is why you want to include ones that you received that maybe aren't related to real estate. So if those certifications are common enough that you think that a possible connection could start a conversation about that, or could actually become a connection based off of that certification, do include it. Anything that you think other people would have in common, especially your target audience, are things that you want to include. So after you've kind of built up your own credibility, you want to take advantage of your friends in your network and help them build up your credibility from the outside and from trusted sources, should we say. So the skills section is a great place for you to add your own skills and build that credibility and that social proof and really impress your reader. So this is not the place to be humble. Don't worry about it. Put them all on there. And this is great for your specialties throughout the real estate process, as well as with the specific type of real estate. So to validate your skills, you want to selectively ask some of your connections to endorse you and endorse these skills. Or even better yet, if you can get them to write a recommendation, you are killing it. You're off to the races. So these are connections that you should have a strong relationship with and that you've already worked with. You don't want to be like cold calling people to ask them to make recommendations or anything for you. These recommendations are kind of similar to testimonials that you would put on your website or your Roomvu profile, but they're a little bit different because they can include people other than your clients. So this is a great place for other agents to give a recommendation about their experience working with you, either as a coworker or anything like that, or a referring agent, which really goes to broaden your network and ensure that credibility that you're trying to build. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that you kind of have to give to get. Before asking a connection, you should go explore their profile and see if you can endorse any of their skills or write a recommendation. It also makes it a lot easier to ask if you've already kind of given them a favor and helped them out, and it'll make them much more willing to help you in return. So those are something to think about when you're creating your beautiful profile. The point of the profile overall is to tell a story, about you as a person, as a professional, and as about your professional journey as a whole. And so all of these things kind of work together to tell that story, and it helps build that social proof that we're talking about, and that credibility and consistency and professionalism. And then all those tie together to help you get connections and from there leads. So those are all things to think about in your profile. So as a part of a professional platform, one of the main points of LinkedIn is to build your professional network. And the way that you do that is through connections. So your goal is to connect with as many relevant people as possible, When we say relevant, we're talking about other agents, other real estate professionals, or those in the real estate industry or real estate adjacent industries, as well as past clients, current clients, and potential clients. So your goal to get the most amount of connections is super important, especially if they're relevant, because the LinkedIn algorithm kind of works by recommending people to you based off of who you're already connected with. And so, the larger that network is, the more recommended connections you get, and the more relevant your network is, the more relevant your recommended connections and your, hopefully, potential leads will get, which is really what you're hoping to do. So one tool that you can use to find new connections is the advanced search function. And this is a really powerful tool because it allows you to find individuals that are kind of that like one step beyond your typical reach. So you can find people by filtering for your local area. You can also find individuals by filtering for other parameters such as industries or companies. If you work with a lot of accountants or lawyers or teachers or anything like that, this is kind of a great way to find potential connections in that realm through the advanced search. You also want to include some of those real estate adjacent kind of connections that we were talking about earlier. So this includes local businesses, which you may wish to partner with later. And again, kind of gives you that community expertise that people are relying on you for. This includes home builders, construction companies, HR professionals, which they're probably, if they're hiring new hires to the area, they are probably looking for housing. And so it's great to get in touch with those people to kind of be their number one. And the same with relocation service professionals. So those are all people that you can be searching for using that advanced search. And once you've found an individual or a few that you think interest you, all you have to do is open up their LinkedIn profile. You don't even have to be that interested in them. Just as long as you open up their profile, you don't even have to view it from there. All you have to do is open it, which the point of that is that it then sends a notification to them that somebody has viewed their profile. And people are really nosy. They want to know who's looking at their profile, why they might be looking, all of those things. And for the most part, those people will actually go back to your profile and look at your profile to see what you do, where you're from, all of those things. And if they're even more curious, they might actually add you as a connection. So using this advanced search is actually a great way to build connections really easily and naturally. And you never know where those conversations can go. So it's a really handy way to kind of broaden your horizons. So if you are looking at connecting with somebody that you already know, your previous clients or your current clients or anything like that, either for a possible referral in the future or a potential repeat customer, it's not enough just to hit the, let's connect. What you really want to be doing is sending a personalized note along with your connection request. So this is something that you can easily do that differentiates you, that shows that you care, and that shows that you've put in that little extra effort that matters. It also helps you with kind of a connection that might be, on the verge or the edge. It helps you tell them why they should connect with you, what the benefits are. Because otherwise, they might be like, meh, I don't really know this person, or something like that. And this is a way to stand out immediately. So to send a personalized note, all you have to do is you go to the profile of the person that you're trying to connect with. Once you click that connect button, click add note, And then all you have to do is write in your personalized message and send. So it's super easy and is a simple step that will not go unnoticed, which is really important. But just remember that making connections is an ongoing process. Just a few minutes a day, if you try and make some time for, will help you engage on LinkedIn and make sure that you are staying up to date on those potential connections and growing your network, which is really all that you can hope for. Another way for you to kind of grow your connections, grow your awareness, and grow your engagement is through these groups that we talked about before. This provides an opportunity for you to become a thought leader in the community and a go-to resource for nearby buyers and sellers. It's a great way to connect with a community of people that you either identify with or is in your kind of target audience. So again, you should be connecting with other real estate agents and industry professionals, as well as any sort of group that you think has your target audience in there. So the two kind of categories that you're going to want to hit are the local community groups, which some of them are featured on the slide. So feel free to look at those and see if any of those kind of groups are in your local area. There's also more professional development groups and networking. And some of the examples of those groups are also on the slide as well. So feel free to check those out. So now that you've fleshed out your profile, you look professional, you've done everything on your representation of yourself that you can, and you've joined connections and groups and you're growing your network, the last thing that there is to do is to post. So when we're talking about content as a professional platform, the content that people are looking for, again, is much more data-driven. It's much more about information and knowledge compared to, Facebook or Instagram, which is a lot more varied content and more on the, aesthetic side. Not saying that LinkedIn, your content should still definitely be professional, but doesn't have to be, the same aesthetically pleasing qualities that Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and those sorts of things have. So keeping this in mind, LinkedIn is a great place to share your listings. Posting your listings is a great way to show potential clients what you have to offer instead of just telling them. So again, it's really all about that showing instead of telling, which you do more so in your profile. So this is a great way to kind of get over that hump. Your listing should also include professional photos. This is especially because any photos and videos are like 98% more likely to have any sort of engagement than those without. So that means that you're almost 100% guaranteed that you're going to have more comments when you post a listing with videos and photos than you would without. It's also a great place to share your vlogs or really any sort of video content, from workshops to webinars to interviews, seller and buyer tips, even virtual open tours or open houses is great to put on LinkedIn. Any sort of really rich educational and informative video content, that's what you're going for. This is because you're not only providing value to your audience, but you're also going to see higher engagement as well, since videos have a five times higher likelihood of engagement than any other content, including photos. So again, the more kind of video-oriented you are, the better. Speaking of videos and delivering expert knowledge, which we all talked about is the place for LinkedIn, market reports are really what you should be posting. It's exactly the sort of content that you should be sharing with other agents, clients, really all of your connections. That's what they're interested in. And if you can do this in video format, that's even better. And similarly to market reports, you can also post information about your neighborhood or neighborhoods, and this helps to establish you as an expert in that area, and not only in real estate. So it also satisfies that information currency that everyone on LinkedIn is expecting. So Roomvu actually creates professional market and submarket reports that you can post and share on LinkedIn, as well as we create neighborhood videos and tips and tricks, and report on current news, all through these beautiful videos that you can then post on your LinkedIn. So if you think that you don't want to do the work that you have to do to make those high quality content, we do it all for you. So once you've kind of nailed down the what to post, we're going to talk about the when to post and how to post, and kind of the best posting practices. So one of the things that you can do to kind of elevate your posting is using mentions. This is when you can invite people to participate in the conversation by mentioning them with an @ in your post. So this helps your post get shared and seen by people that you want to hear from, and that may also be outside of your reach, but in the reach of those that you mentioned. You want to make sure that you're just mentioning a few people, because this can be a little bit overwhelming if you're mentioning a whole bunch of people. You're kind of feeding into that spam-like effect. And you also kind of degrade the people that you are mentioning if you're not being selective about who you mention. So those are some things to keep in mind, but this really helps with your brand awareness and engagement. Another thing that you can do that's similar to mentions is the effective use of hashtags. So we've talked about this before as well. Hashtags are a great way to make sure that your content connects with as many people searching for it as possible. And it's a way for your content to extend its reach without you having to do anything besides including these hashtags. So essentially, they're a way for your post to be discovered by a larger audience. And some of the kind of classic examples are, hashtag your neighborhood, your city, hashtag realtor, home style, open house, luxury listing, all of these sorts of things. And so while these are general suggestions, hashtags are changing all the time with the trends. And if you are looking for a place to find the latest hashtags for your area and increase your reach that way on your posts, Roomvu actually suggests the most relevant hashtags under the title of each of our videos. So that's a place that you can go and copy and paste those and look for them. Another thing that you want to consider is the frequency of your posting. So there's no hard and fast rule about how often you should post or when you should post. But many studies have found that content between 7 to 8 a.m., noon, or 5 to 6 p.m. Tend to have the highest engagement, as well as those that are on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So this kind of makes sense intuitively. Those are kind of those hump days, those midweek days where you're in work mode, and the times are, right before work, at lunch, and right after work, which is when, people are engaging with that professional content. But the best way is that if you have any sort of analytics tool for your own audience and when they're the most active, that's when you want to be posting. These are more so just general guidelines. So LinkedIn recommends that you post every business day, but that can be really overwhelming and can kind of create that fatigue from your audience, should we say. So about 3 times per week is more than sufficient, which is every other day. This is especially great for if you don't necessarily think that you have, enough content to keep up with that. But again, the main thing is consistency. So what you're looking for is to post at the same rate every week, every month, whatever it is, so you can go to build that social proof and that credibility and brand, which all kind of comes back to that professionalism. And so to remain consistent, that takes planning. You should be planning your content at least a week in advance of when you are going to publish it. And so this just ensures that your content is the quality of information, the quality of visuals that your audience expects, and it's when they expect it. But managing all of that is very effortful, it's time consuming, and so another option is using the Roomvu calendar and letting us take care of it for you. So by connecting the content calendar on Roomvu, you can save yourself 5 hours per month on the scheduling and the publishing of your content. That doesn't even factor in the actual research that goes into making the content or actually making the professional content. So that's something that you can look at. You can update how often you want something to post and where it posts with the calendar and all of that great stuff. It just kind of takes away some of the work for you, and it's completely free to connect your LinkedIn to the calendar. So that is an even sweeter deal. To do this, what you're going to do is you're going to connect your calendar from your Roomvu account by navigating to the Content Calendar tab on the left-hand sidebar. You're then going to click on it, and you will see the calendar populate with videos basically automatically, and it can't get much easier than that. So let us do the hard work for you, and you can spend your time doing what you love, which is selling homes. This concludes the informational part of the webinar. We will now be moving on to the live Q&A. So if you have any questions about LinkedIn, about Roomvu, any of our upcoming webinars or content, please drop those in the chat now, and we will be sure to answer all of them. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Hi everyone, great. So now we're going to be moving on to the Q&A portion of our webinar this morning. So just as usual, you can type all of your questions into the chat and I will be sure to answer them. It's great to have such a turnout from across North America. So thank you all for coming this morning. The first question is from Joy. She asks, can you migrate over your Zillow testimonials? So no, unfortunately, LinkedIn doesn't let you do that. Those testimonials, or I guess like testimonials and recommendations that we were talking about, has to come from another LinkedIn user that then recommends you. So unfortunately, no. Lisa asks, I missed the first part of the webinar. Is it being recorded to view again? Yes, absolutely. So much like all of our other webinars, this is being recorded and then it will be up living on our YouTube channel, and maybe parts are on our Instagram as well. But yeah, this is always here for you to come back to and rewind, rewatch any part that you would like. Great. Can you show some examples of a great page? Yeah, so Roomvu Academy has published a LinkedIn, I guess, master document of all of this, and on that document there are some great examples. And so we can definitely post that in the description of this video once it's recorded, I guess. So look out for that, and yeah, you will definitely get that information. Amazing. Great, so those are all the questions so far. Again, feel free to keep on sending them in. Can you tell us more on who to connect to? Yeah, great. So the point of LinkedIn is to kind of expand that network that you're trying to build. And so part of that is connecting to people in the real estate industry and I guess adjacent industries such as like home builders, construction companies, stuff like that. But it's also a great part to find leads and make those connections through engaging with those in your local community. And then that kind of goes back to looking at groups, filtering by location, those sorts of things. So it really depends who you're working with. But yeah, you can connect to basically anyone that you think is a good fit with your kind of typical client or the client that you would like. Great question though. I guess if there are any more questions, I can expand on that one a little bit more. One of the great things about LinkedIn is because it's that professional network, this is your opportunity that you can connect with HR professionals in multiple, across various different disciplines and industries, as well as relocation services, because this is a great way for you to kind of get in and you can, if there's a lot of new people moving to that location for the company, they could maybe recommend you as a realtor that they can go through, those new employees can access. So that's a really innovative and smart kind of way to build those connections and to grow your business that way. Any examples of LinkedIn groups and how to find them? Yeah, so LinkedIn groups are super easy to find. All you have to do is in the search bar, for example, I'm in Vancouver, you just type in Vancouver, and then from there you can filter by groups. It'll come up at the top there. And the great part is that LinkedIn's algorithm works that if you're already, if you've already stated that like you're a realtor and based off of other people that you're following, it'll show you your top groups based off of your like search activity and those that you interact with already. So the chances are that the top couple groups that'll come up for you are ones that are a great fit for you. But yeah, those other ones are more, you can do professionals in your area, entrepreneurs, teachers, professional associations. It's also a great place if you have some sort of personal attribute like women in professions, for myself, or if you're anything like that, that's a really great way to kind of build up that network as well, and examples of groups that you can join. How can I update or check my connection on the site? So what you can do is to kind of check that, you can go to your network under kind of the main thing on LinkedIn, and then you're going to click on Manage My Network right at the top, and that'll kind of help you go to your connections, and then from there you can click on Connections, which will kind of help you go through your people and decide, say, if you want to eliminate any or change anything like that. That's the way to do that. Amazing. Great questions. And again, the Roomvu step-by-step kind of master guide is really helpful in searching for those groups, and also just browsing LinkedIn itself is great. Amazing. Ooh, good one. So Sophie asks, what keywords should we be using in the body of our articles to reach a wider audience? Yeah, that's a great one. And that changes with kind of the trends as well. So those aren't necessarily like generic ones, I would say. But some of the general ones that people tend to click on is anything to do with like predictions or, you know, what's happening in the future. Anything that's super, I guess more so specific. So say, you know, mentioning millennials or Gen Z or Gen X or baby boomers or anything like that, any sort of demographic information can also kind of help that article pop, I guess I would say. Yeah, that's a great question. Amazing. So yeah, this is your last opportunity to put in those questions. So send them over if you have any. If not, you can feel free, if you still have questions about LinkedIn, about Roomvu, how you can incorporate the two and add your LinkedIn profile to your Roomvu account. You can feel free to schedule a one-on-one with any of our customer support team, and they will be happy to help you out and kind of answer any and all of your questions. And feel free to refer back to this webinar anytime. So thank you for joining us again for our Roomvu how-to series, and we hope that you have a wonderful day.